you so much. And with the time that we've got remaining, I'd like to ask our two panelists for their key takeaways or their final thoughts very briefly. John, you led us off this afternoon. Perhaps you want to be the first one to close us out with a few of your final thoughts.
Well, the Section 232 and 301 tariffs are still with us. We're going to start to see a lot of the exemptions expire within the next few days, weeks. So there's still going to be a business factor. I think companies need to have strategies for two things. Number one, dealing with them today and trying to minimize their exposure. And then secondly, I think companies need to have a strategy for what happens when all of this is over and we've paid some of these tariffs. Will there be any way through duty drawback or otherwise we can try to get them back from the government? I think every company involved in importing, needs to do an internal examination of its operations along those lines.
Thank you so much. And over to Jonathan. Perhaps you want to close us out with your final thoughts as well.
Yes, I guess my final thought would be that the theme of the past few years in sanctions and export control has been volatility and relatively rapid and somewhat unpredictable change. And that creates a really substantial compliance burden for companies that are subject to these rules. In conjunction with the substantive developments we've been discussing, the government, including OFAC, has been increasingly emphasizing the importance of an adequate corporate compliance program. And so if you're an exporter or you deal with foreign parties on a regular basis, you really need an OFAC and export compliance process at your company, and it's very important to ensure that whoever is running that process is keeping abreast of developments as they occur and adjusting your risk management policies and other policies to reflect the changes that have come into effect, because the waters are not as blue and Pacific as they were a few years ago in this area.